To complement tonight's screening of the Oscar-winning film Amadeus at midnight, a profile now on BBC One of its director, the talented Czech-born Milos Forman.
I suddenly realized how wonderful it is to work where there is no ideological censorship. Nobody, you don't have to think, you don't have to self-censor yourself, you don't have to correct yourself, you just put everything what you feel excites you on the screen. You know.
Milos has adapted himself very well to America. He has been also very, in a way, very faithful to his first feeling about America. Like, for instance, about Hair. We saw Hair together in New York in '68, and he made Hair years later, very faithful to the first beautiful feelings that we had in America at that time.
Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding. No more falsehoods or derisions, golden and living dreams of visions.
I was offered to do Hair at a major studio, so I decided that practically the whole film will be shot in the Central Park, so I want to live nearby and I want to direct from my window, so that's why I live in this apartment.
Part of his genius is he is able to operate within the Hollywood system. No matter how purely you start in this business, you get to the point where you're doing what everybody else ultimately does. You're putting together elements because it's this hot person and that hot person and it's this and then. And even the most brilliant directors sort of all seem to end up there. And Milos Forman never has. He will wait years and years, if it takes it, to come up with something that really is from his heart and something that he really believes in.
When this script arrived and I read the title, I didn't read it at all. I just put it aside because when I read the word Flint, Larry Flint, that name, that word was associated in my mind only with sleaze and exploitation.
Rudy, are you a religious man?
Yeah.
Okay, you believe God created man?
Yeah.
God created woman?
Yeah.
Well, then surely the same God created her vagina. And who are you to defy God? Just shoot her.
Sleaze, porno, that's it, and that's Larry Flint. That's all of him. Well, when you suddenly read about his life, you realize that this man has another half to his personality, which is rather admirable, And that surprise is very intriguing. And of course, this kind of a contradiction in one person it's good for the screen. It's exciting. It's interesting.
I asked him why he wanted to make a movie about me. And he says, well, I grew up in a country where people like you always lost. And, you know, he mentioned losing his mother and father in a concentration camp for passing out literature to school kids, basically.
It seems to me tragic now. Now I realize that I had a tragic life. Not when it was happening. I was a child. And a child is not sentimental at all. You know, yeah, I was told, you know, my parents are in a concentration camps. Well, the only camps I knew was Boy Scouts camps. And nobody would, you know, be so cruel and tell me, no, this is not a Boy Scout camp. You know, they're torturing people, killing people. Even death. You don't, you know, until I guess puberty, you don't really realize the finality of life.
So they march into the capital of Czechoslovakia, and in the historic castle in Prague, Hitler looks down upon a conquered city from a very high window.
During the war already, when I was living with some relatives in different small towns in Bohemia, and my brother, who is like 12 years older than me, was in that times a set designer in a small company of operettas, you know, traveling company. And every time this company came to the town I lived, I was allowed to spend my evenings with my brother in that backstage in the theater. And that did it to me, because I was 10 years old kid, so nobody really paid any attention. So I was sitting in the corner of a ladies' dressing room, you know, getting glimpses of their beautiful breasts when they were changing costumes, you know, smelling all these makeups and all that. And I think, you know, this turned me onto show business forever.
Speed. 4/5.
Pleve.
He wanted to be an opera singer, and he has a very deep voice. And I think he probably could have tried that out if he ever wanted to. And he was fascinated by theater in general. He actually was part of some performances at that age, 18, 19. When I got into film school, Milos was finishing. He was 4 years ahead of me. And he studied screenwriting.
Living this part of your life in totalitarian regime, which you hate, has a great advantage, that you don't follow good examples, role models. You are not there dreaming to make films like René Clair or John Ford or William Wyler. No, not at all. Your inspiration are the stupid, absolutely imbecile films which the totalitarian system is producing. Your inspiration is revolting against bad, against something so superficial, artificial, untrue. I bought an East German 16mm camera. I called Ivan Passer, my friend, if he knows somebody who can teach me how to put the camera in and how it works. And he brought in Mirek Ondryček, who was in that time focus assistant at the Barrandov studio.
Ta kamera, kterou teda Miloš koupil, to je východoněmecká kamera Panaflex nebo AK, má v terči 3 objektivy, které se přehazují. No, tady to má motor. Dneska to působí dost muzeálně. Je. Kde jsme to drželi, no. To je podivný instrument.
I didn't see the camera since because he wouldn't let it go, And it was wonderful. It was very noisy, but very good lenses, size lenses, camera. And in that time, what to do now? And I admired very much these two friends of mine who were running a small musical theater in Prague, Semaphore, Schlitter and Suchy. And I said, listen, you want me to do kind of a home movie for you, you know, when you'll be doing the next audition of your singers for your theater?
Raději jsem neměla ten román. Raději jsem neměla ho číst nad andělis. Hrdina byl v tom románě schován. Miluji ho, jmenuje se Twist, Oliver Twist. Takový muž na zemi to není. Jenom v knihách nebo v dívčím snění. Přirovnám ho směle bez prodlení. Torero španělský. Raději se
And one day we said, how in this country, with this impossible censorship and socialist realism running mad, yes, how do you make a decent movie? First, we thought it would have to be a comedy, because the Communist Party was much more tolerant with movies which made people laugh than the others. They didn't think they were that dangerous. How wrong they were. Jaroslav Papoušek, who actually was a sculptor, wrote a novel called Black Peter, which Milos liked, and he wanted to make a film out of it. So that was really his first feature.
Well, I was very lucky with the Black Peter because immediately it caused a very strong nervosity among the upper echelons of the party cultural, watchdogs. Fortunately, the film was selected by the Locarno Film Festival and was shown at the Locarno Film Festival and got the main prize, got the golden sale or whatever it was then. And that saved us. Because as much as the communists always are attacking the decadent Western world, they love nothing more than to go there and to, buy some nylon stockings for their wives, and to be, tapped on the shoulder. Oh, you are making good movies there, and things like that. They loved it. So that saved us, this kind of early recognition of our films in Western Europe.
Mr. Forman, you use in your films both professional actors and ordinary people, amateurs. Now, what do you think you achieved by that?
I would like to use only non-professional actors because they are very real, very fresh. They are unrepeatable, It's big value for the cinema to see what's unrepeatable. But they are not enough professional, So it's the same situation like with the women. You can't live without, you can't live with, so what to do?
Když jsem ti to říkal už nejméně 100krát.
Neříká.
Nemám v Praze žádnou holku, 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 mě udusíš.
Tak ať.
Ti to nedopovídám.
Co?
No to, že nemám v Praze žádnou holku, 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 nemám v Praze žádnou holku.
We try to make it look like it's improvised, but it never was. Every word was written.
A nyní konečně nadchází ta námi jistě dlouho očekávaná chvíle. Přistupujeme k volbě královny krásy. Která poté slavnostně předá čestný dar našemu bývalému dlouholetému předsedovi. A nyní tedy prosím vybrané kandidátky, aby se okamžitě dostavili sem na pódium. Hudba, hraj!
The censors are trying to really kill the film totally. Thank God, a few months later, Alexander Dubček came to power. And so the government released the film, and you could read in front, before the credits, this film is not against our firemen, it's against the regime.
In 1968, Cannes Film Festival accepted in competition 3 Czech films. It was unheard of. So we went there. And I couldn't believe what's happening. Because the second day of the festival, I am going into the theater. My film's supposed to be screened for the journalists. They're all the French filmmakers. I admire François Truffaut, Louis Malle, Jean-Luc Godard. Everybody was there, hanging onto the curtain, declaring that the festival is over, urging everybody, and I didn't understand a word. And they're coming to me, you have to withdraw your film. Well, why? Because it was a leftist revolution. Basically communist, because of the May events in Paris, right? The paradox was, why these French friends of mine, whom I admire so much, why, while we, for 20 years, are dreaming to take that red flag down, why they are dreaming and trying to put that red flag up? It didn't make sense to us, to me.
We were in summer of '68 here in Paris. It was, you know, about the time of the invasion of Czechoslovakia, tragic times for Milos and other Czech friends. I remember Milos sitting there, you know, half naked in the middle of the night, totally at a loss, and not knowing what to do, and telling me, what shall I do, what shall I do? So the following day, we cheered up a little bit. François Truffaut lent us his car. I couldn't go, but Claude Berry and Jean-Pierre Rassa took Truffaut's car and went to Prague. They went just to pick up Milos' wife and children. And on their way back from Prague, they were passing the Russian tanks which were going to close the border. You know, it was just about time, you know, to leave. So they all arrived in my place. It was a sort of smala, you know, a sort of bivouac. Milos' wife, Vera, and his 2 twin boys stayed for a few weeks maybe. But they didn't speak a word of French or English, and finally they decided to go back to Czechoslovakia, where Vera was an actress and she was working regularly in a theater, and Milos decided to stay. So that was, you know, the moment of a crucial decision I suppose, in his life.
During that short period of, you know, political relaxation, I managed to, that the film exporter, the Czech agency, official government agency, signed a contract for me to make a film in the United States, taking off. And, but the fact is that I suddenly realized that filmmaking in Czechoslovakia will not be a piece of cake anymore, because Fireman's Ball was then officially banned, officially forever, you know, and it was 20 years in the vault, you know. So I knew that the life will not be easy, because if they ban your film, then they are not banning the film, they are banning you, you know. And so that a little bit contributed to the fact that when I finished Taking Off, which was my American film, which I sort of did still, you know, like legally being outside, and they asked me to go back, I just didn't go back.
We lived in New York. We rent a little house. And since we didn't know anything about America, we decided to write Taking Off out of reality. And we decided to make a sort of investigation, to go from one place to another one, to, you know, to knock at the doors, to ask people, do you have a boy or a girl who once tried to run away? Could you describe what happened to them?
Taking Off was my very naive attempt to do in America a Czech film.
Let's get a little sentimental. Let's start holding hands. Let's start making plans. Think of what we're missing. Why we're not kissing. Let's get a little sentimental. Turn the lights down low. Troubles come and go. But while we're together, we can live forever.
When we started, we were sure that the central character will be the girl, the runaway girl. Except that slowly, step by step, we found out that these kids are so boring. All they do is, you know, spending time, you know, lying on the floor in some crash pad, smoking pot and watching television, and then go and buy some beans and go back to the crash pad. And the only drama happens when somebody overdoses, you know. And while talking to the parents, we found out that that's where the frantic drama exists. You know, because they were going bananas, trying to find their girls, trying to searching their souls. What did we do wrong? Should we blame ourselves, or should we blame society, or should we blame the movies, or should we blame the drugs?
This is a joint. The joint has two ends. It has one end which is rolled shut, and another end which is open. Take the joint with the open end facing you, firmly between your thumb and index fingers, like this. Do you know what I'm saying?
At the time, Milos didn't speak very good English, and I always spoke to him very carefully and slowly so that he would understand everything I was saying. And what he told me to do was, he said, so Winnie, teach them how to smoke pot. Use the steps. You know, at first you light the joint, then you put it in your mouth. And then when you are done, you say, you pass it till it gets very small, and that is called a roach. And this lady will ask you a question.
The remnant is a roach?
Yes.
Roach.
And I will collect those.
One point he said to me, why don't you smile at them? They are, look at them, they are scared of you. Don't make them scared of you. So he was using me in the scene to pull out from the extras and from the other actors, to pull out kind of stoned behavior.
You kiss my blood, and the blood kiss me. Breathe.
I don't feel anything.
When the film failed, I I think I realized why the film failed, because it is a kind of a snobbish European attitude, these open endings, you know, which we loved, and you could see it in the French films and like that. It's something which the American audience doesn't buy. You know, they want to know at the end, so who did what to whom, why, and what is the punishment, you know? And there is some truth to it, because now I am telling you, if I read a script and the story doesn't have catharsis, I wouldn't do it, you know. But in those times, I didn't give a damn.
After taking off, Milos has known a rather difficult period. He was already in his early 40s. He was a very famous director. I mean, his work was studied in all the film schools all over the world, and he was totally broke.
Somehow I was not in panic. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed, you know, staying at the Chelsea Hotel, not paying the rent, and because Chelsea was fun, you know, a lot of interesting people and good Spanish, cheap Spanish restaurant downstairs, you know, and watching American television was it still is always fascinating for me. I'm lying in the bed and the Chelsea envelope comes. There is a book, Barful of the Cuckoo's Nest, sent to me if I would be interested to make a film. The whole book is written from the point of view of the schizophrenic Indian. The big nurse, she has wires sticking out of his hair and smoke coming out of her nostrils, and she's gigantic, and there is a smog and fog, you know, in all the corridors, and all kind of surreal things, you know. What we have to do is to translate it into reality, where everybody is as real as possible.
We were given this wonderful freedom to improvise. Wonderful things came out of that. That give me my cigarettes. You know, I want my that came out of that improvisational style. And it shocked the hell out of me when he did that. And you see it on my face.
Mr. Scanlon?
I want to know why the dorm is locked in the daytime and on weekends.
Yeah. I would like to know about our cigarettes. May I have my cigarettes, please, Miss Ratchet?
You sit down, Mr. Cheswick, and wait your turn. Go ahead, sit down.
I believe I was totally shocked by it. And he was working with more than one camera.
Piss on your fucking balls, Miss Ratchet!
Sit down, will you, Cheswick?
I want you to know something right here and now, Miss Ratchet. I ain't no little kid.
You sit down.
I ain't no little kid where you're gonna have cigarettes kept from me like cookies, and I want something done. Ain't that right, man?
That's right. Now will you sit down, Cheswick?
No, I won't. I won't. I want something done.
Sit down.
I want something done. I want something done. I want something done. I want something done.
Here.
I want something
Here.
done.
Damn it, Cheswick, here. Hey.
We all did it for very, very little money up front, but the piece of, you know, if the film is successful. If the film is not successful, we will be as poor as before, right? And, well, thanks God, turned my life around at least, and a few other people.
Nobody was more thrilled and moved and happy than Milos was when he won that thing. And he used to play the tape of winning over and over and over. He probably wouldn't admit that, or maybe he would.
I don't think he picks pictures that he thinks will be successful or not. You know, if he could do that, he would be running a studio. And I think he picks pictures that are meaningful to him. And something that has to hook him. freedom of speech, a lifestyle that's different than the norm. Coal House Walker in ragtime, a hero before his time, trying to find his way.
For me, there is one scene in the book which, when I read that scene, I said, yes, I want to do this film. That's when this bigot fireman, you know, defecate into Coal House Walker's car, and then the law comes, the policeman comes and says, well, listen, if you don't want to make waves, clean it and go, and everything will be fine.
I don't know why you did this. I never caused you any harm.
You blocked access to an emergency service, and I got witnesses here to prove it.
You're lying.
Don't you say that to me! Nigger!
Come on. Over here, right there. Look. There ain't no real damage done. Just scoop the shit off, take your automobile, and get along out of here. What do you say? I'm not going nowhere until my car's cleaned.
You know, nobody who didn't live in totalitarian regime can understand what kind of humiliation you have to swallow to live in that kind of society. And that was very strong for me.
Samozřejmě ten film je jiný, než byl točený v jiných podmínkách, než jak točil Černého Petra a Lásky provlásky. Točil to v hollywoodské produkci, nebo jo, takže vypadá to země jinak, ale ten duch je formanovský a tudíž český. A Kukačka nebo Amadeus, to já pokládám za český filmy. A v tomhle se před ním skláním v hlubokém obdivu a v tiché závisti.
I was in London casting for ragtime for a few days only. And by sheer coincidence, my representative, Mr. Lance, was also in London. And one day he called me when I had some actors in my room if I want to go in the theater that night. And I even didn't ask what, because generally theater in London is great. So, you know, I said, yeah, sure, I'll go with you. I didn't. And only in the taxi I learned that we are going to see some play about composer. I thought I'm going to die. I prepared myself for the most boring evening because, you know, the bio films about composers were favorite subject in communist countries because music doesn't talk, doesn't say subversive lines. And then I'm sitting in the theater ready to go to sleep, and I was just shocked. What a wonderful drama I see.
It was interesting that Milos immediately had some sort of a take on it. He said, you know, the court of Joseph II was really exactly like Hollywood in the 20s and 30s, which is to say, they bought up all the available talent, and then they didn't really know what to do with it, because these people were much greater than they were, and they didn't know how to handle it.
So, then you liked it. You really liked it, sire.
Well, of course I did. It's very good. Of course, now and then, just now and then, it seemed a touch,
What do you mean, sire?
well, I mean, occasionally it seems to have, how should one say? How shall one say, Director?
Too many notes, Your Majesty.
Exactly. Very well put. Too many notes.
so many times when I had a script conference in Hollywood with major studio, I heard after they told me their notes that they started to laugh and said, you know, too many notes, right? Too many notes, right? You know.
Here we go.
Okay.
Any problems? Ready?
His criterion is truth. But truth, obviously, is only what he thinks he expects to see. Is utterly frustrated by this idea of actors acting. Drives him mad. The idea of an actor interpreting a part or trying to bring something of himself into it, or unless by chance it coincides with what he sees, is absolutely contemptible to him. A disgraceful betrayal of the script, of life, of art. And it's very hard to get round that. Roy de Tries was playing Leopold Mozart, and Milos gave him the usual reproach, Roy, you are always acting, please, Roy. So Roy said, rather agreeably, he said, you don't miss much, do you, Mr. Forman? To which Milos said, mismatch? What mismatch? And so I said, I'll do it again. And so Roy started to do it again, and he said, no, Roy, now you are acting, not acting. So it was very hard to actually win on this one.
Well, I guess my faculty with English language was not good enough to express myself properly. You know, it's not a question not to act. Of course, he's acting, but I don't want to feel these people on the screen that they are aware that I'm watching them, that the audience is watching them. That's the difference between the film and the theater. In the theater, everything is stylized, so even the acting is stylized, and nobody pretends that the audience is not there, you know? But when I see a film and I see how these actors are hamming it out, how they know that they are being watched and they are playing to the audience, it just turns me off, you know?
Oh, Cécile, darling. Cécile, you remember Madame de Merteuil?
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, go to her.
Should we kiss?
No, that's they wouldn't kiss on the cheeks, right?
No, they would kiss here.
Oh.
He would kiss her there.
Here? Oh, show me.
How interesting. That's very interesting.
Okay. I read Liaison Dangereuse for the first time on the urgency of our professor of literature at the film school, Milan Kundera. And many years later, some producer told me to go and see the play, Christopher Hampton's play, which is brilliant play, brilliant. And the first thing which surprised me is how my memory differs from what I saw on the stage. Do you remember Madame Merteuil? Then only you. The main thing was I somehow liked the characters in my memory. I was somehow very fond of them. And I couldn't accept that they are such a, clearly defined, bad people. Because it went, my God, if Madame de Merteuil was such a, mean, bad bitch, then Madame de Volanges must be a total idiot to give her daughter into her hands. No, in real life, I'm sure she was as charming every time she was seen in public as more than anybody else. That's why everybody trusts her. That's why everybody, likes her.
The reason why I think Valmont was not the glowing success it should have been is because it connected us to those people in that time.
Do you want to know why I never remarried? So that no one could ever claim they had any rights over me at all.
You are confusing bets and marriages, madame. One must always honor a bet.
You don't want me?
I think because the film was about charming people doing terrible things, and their emotional life was very real and very approachable, I think it upset people in a way that perhaps the other film didn't, because you always knew it was Glenn Close and you always knew it was John Malkovich. They never stopped being those people.
I learned that you don't want to make a movie that was just made. It was an expensive, very expensive proposition. People always are trying to slip me a script to give to Milos, and I would never presume to decide what he wants. Like I didn't decide, you know, I was amazed when he said, we're making a movie about Larry Flint. I mean, that was absolutely stunning to me.
And now, Americans for a free press take extreme pleasure in welcoming to Cincinnati, direct from jail, cleared 100% by the appellate court.
This is really great. The Americans for a Free Press to invite us here tonight.
And this is publisher.
Idiot, the Americans for a Free Press is me. Who do you think's paying for all this?
That freedom fighter, Larry C.
When we pitched the movie to the studios, we said this is going to be a Frank Capra movie with pornography. Here was a little boy who really believed in America. I mean, he is a classic American success story. He was born with nothing, and he had an idea, and he made a lot of money with it.
I have a thought for you. Murder is illegal. But you take a picture of somebody committing the act of murder, they'll put you on the cover of Newsweek. You might even win a Pulitzer Prize. And yet, sex is legal. Everybody's doing it, or everybody wants to be doing it. Yeah, you take a picture of two people in the act of sex, or just take a picture of a woman's naked body, and they'll put you in jail.
The trick of the movie was you watch him and you sort of say, oh, he's sort of disgusting, oh, he's sort of gross. But by the end of the film, you start to say, but he is right about this one issue. Freedom of expression is an absolute issue. You either have it or you don't have it.
Now, I have a message for all you good, moral, Christian people who are complaining that breasts and vaginas are obscene. Hey, don't complain to me. Complain to the manufacturer, okay? And although Jesus told us not to judge, I know you're going to judge anyway, so judge sanely. Judge with your eyes open. What do you consider obscene? Is this obscene to you? Or perhaps that's obscene to you. Maybe this is obscene to you. But what is more obscene? This or this? This or this?
Well, the first thing before I said yes, I asked, is it all true? Because, you know, things which were in the script and which are in the film, they're so, some of them are so outrageous that, you know, everything is true, I found out. Every single detail is true. That this man went to a court dressed in a diaper made of an American flag, that he was spitting at the judges.
Time speed. 132 Apple, take one, Mark. And...
Good afternoon, Mr. Flint.
Good afternoon.
Well, sir, tell me, are you here now to obey the court's order and reveal the source of that videotape, or are you going to pay the $10,000 that I ordered?
Your Honor,
I'd like a moment to speak with my client.
Respect, I don't need a moment. It is my right, under the freedom of the First Amendment, to protect my sources.
Larry, just hang on for one second.
No, hey, relax, Larry. Relax, Alan.
Mr. Flint, is that an American flag you have on there, sir?
I have fashioned this American flag into a diaper because if you're going to treat me like a baby, I'm going to act like one.
Larry Flint, I'm ordering you arrested for desecration of the American flag. Marshal, take him into custody.
Your Honor, we'd like to post bond if that's all right with you. Hey, hold on. Take it easy. Take it easy.
All right, just a minute, Marshal. Very well, Mr. Isaacman. Court will set a bond on Mr. Larry Flint for $50,000. And this time, sir, I'd prefer a cashier's check.
Him being so outrageous and disgusting almost makes the point better, because if you had you know, someone doing something artistic, or if you had someone doing something noble and people were censoring, it's an easy thing for you to say, oh yeah, I agree with that person. He should have the right to say that. What's great about the First Amendment is that even people you disagree with have the right to speak their mind, and that's really what the heart of the movie is about.
Thousands of people every year petition the Supreme Court, okay? Thousands.
Now, our case is as good as any.
Our case is better than most of them. You're missing my point. My point is they will never pick you because you're a nightmare. They're afraid if they let you in the court, you're going to wear a diaper or throw oranges at the justices, and they should be, Larry, because in all the times you've gone to the court asking for help, you've never once demonstrated any respect for its institutions and procedures. So as far as they're concerned, you're just a pig.
Yeah, well, you always said, and it's the principle, a pig has the same rights as a president.
The freedom of speech can't really be 100%. It's, you know, and then it never will be, thanks to this pressure to control us and to censor us, you know. The problem is that if we stop fighting these fanatics who are trying to impose, you know, their own view of the world or their own taste on us, if we will stop fighting them, they will win over us. That's what happened in Germany in the 30s. That's what happened in Czechoslovakia in the 40s. You know, when suddenly the resistance of liberals relaxed, and the communists were voted into power, and within months, the whole society was being dictated such uniformity in everything, in taste, in thinking, that the quality of life in such society deteriorates to a degree that society can't progress anymore. Creativity is stifled, you know.
No, ale zjistí to, abych prostě to věděl, no.
Forman dokázal neuvěřitelnou věc. Když si vzpomenete, jak dopadli evropsky etablovaní režiséři v Americe, jako Louis Malle, já nevím kdo všechno, Wenders, nedokázali se jako přizpůsobit americkému trhu, tak ten Forman to dokázal, aniž by ztratil svoji osobnost. Forman dovede být tvrdý, ví, co chce a dovede jednat s lidma. On je sirotek a on se vždycky o sebe musel naučit starat sám.
You know, there is a very famous phrase in Pascal, a French writer from the 17th century, which says that there is nothing more difficult for a man than to stay alone in his room. And Milos does it very often. He is a man of solitude, but a real solitude. I mean, he lives alone in his country house, cooking for himself, absolutely alone, for 2 or 3 weeks sometimes. And I think there is a direct contact, not only with the world around him, the woods, the animals, you know, his dogs, but also with himself, that only solitude can give you. There is there, probably in this face-to-face between Milos and Forman, you know, one very deep secret which makes him what he is.
And the brilliance of Forman can be seen at 12 midnight tonight in the Oscar-winning Amadeus.
The director of the highest-grossing film of all time
I didn't think the movie was going to sell at all.
What?
was once the most extreme of the arty filmmakers.
I moved completely over to the other side where I'm doing kind of kids' movies.
Yet he hasn't directed another film in 20 years.
Why should he spend his entire life doing Star Wars when he was so talented?
The remarkable story of George Lucas, Omnibus, next Sunday, 10:30 on BBC One.
This will be a day long remembered.